The bell above the cafe door rang once. Soft, sharp, final. The woman froze just inside the doorway. Rain clung to her coat. It darkened the sleeves, dripped from the hem. A thin puddle formed at her feet before she realized it. She looked down, then up. Then nowhere at all. The cafe was warm, too warm. The smell of coffee hung in the air. Burnt milk, sugar, comfort. People looked, not all at once, but enough. A man near the window paused mid-sip. A couple at the corner table stopped talking. A barista glanced up from the counter, then quickly away. The woman tightened her grip on the paper cup in her hand. It was empty. She knew that. Still, she held it like it mattered. She took one step forward. The manager noticed then. He was wiping the counter. Slow circles, clean cloth, clean hands. He straightened when he saw her. His jaw tightened. "I'm sorry," he said, not loud, not kind. "You can't be in here." The woman blinked. "I just need," her voice cracked. She cleared her throat. "Just a minute." The manager shook his head. Small movement, practiced. "We've talked about this," he said. Customers complained. A chair scraped the floor. Someone shifted uncomfortably. Someone else pretended not to listen. The woman looked around the cafe, at the tables, the cups, the window fogged with rain. Her eyes lingered on a young girl stirring hot chocolate, her feet swinging beneath the chair. The woman swallowed. "I won't sit," she said. "I'll stand, I'll be quiet." The manager sighed. He rubbed his forehead like this was tiring him. "That's not the point," he said. "You make people uncomfortable." The word landed hard, uncomfortable. The woman nodded once, slowly, like she accepted that word, like she had heard it before. "I used to come here," she said, almost to herself. The manager didn't respond. A barista finally spoke, soft, nervous. "Sir, it's raining." The manager looked at the door, at the rain, then back at the woman. "5 minutes," he said. "That's it." Relief crossed her face, quick. Fragile, gone too soon. She moved to the wall, away from the tables. She stood there, silent. Hands folded around the empty cup. People went back to their drinks, their screens, their conversations, but not fully. Eyes flicked toward her, then away. A man whispered something to his friend. The friend shook her head. The woman stared at the menu board. Her lips moved slightly as if reading it or remembering it. The rain grew heavier outside. The bell above the door rang again. Someone else entered. Laughed, shook off their umbrella. Time passed. Then the manager checked his watch. He walked toward her. "Time's up," he said. The woman didn't move. She looked at him, really looked at him. Her eyes were tired, but steady. "Before I go," she said quietly, "can I ask you something?" The manager hesitated. "What?" She held up the empty cup. "Do you still make the cinnamon blend?" she asked. "The way you used to?" The manager frowned. "How do you know about that?" he asked. The woman didn't answer. She only smiled. And that was when he noticed her hands. They were shaking. And none of them yet knew why the cafe felt suddenly unfamiliar or why this woman knew things she shouldn't. The manager stared at her hands longer than he meant to. They shook. Not violently, just enough to be seen, just enough to tell a story without words. "Please leave," he said again. His voice was firmer now, like he was protecting something. The cafe, the rules, himself. The woman nodded. She stepped toward the door, slowly, each step careful, like the floor might disappear. The bell rang as she pushed it open. Cold rushed in. Rain slapped the windows harder now. The sound filled the room, loud, relentless. She paused in the doorway. "For what it's worth," she said without turning around, "it used to smell different in here." The manager didn't reply. She left. The door closed behind her. The bell rang again. Short, hollow. For a moment no one spoke. Then the cafe breathed. Someone laughed too loudly. Someone asked for extra sugar. Cups clinked. A chair scraped. But the warmth felt thinner now. The barista, a young woman with tired eyes, glanced at the door again, then at the manager. "You didn't have to be so harsh," she said quietly. He shrugged. It's policy. Since when? Since people complained. She pressed her lips together. She didn't even sit. That's not the point, he said again, the same words, like armor. Outside, through the window, the woman stood under the awning. Rain sprayed in from the sides. Her coat soaked through. She didn't leave right away. She leaned against the brick wall, closed her eyes, her shoulders sagged. Inside, a man near the window watched her, middle-aged, office clothes, coffee untouched. She looks sick, he murmured to no one. His companion shrugged. Or drunk. The word slipped out easily. The man frowned but said nothing. The barista wiped the counter, over and over, same spot, same motion. "Do you want me to call someone?" she asked the manager. "A shelter or something?" "They know where to go," he said. "They always do." She stopped wiping. "Do they?" she asked. He didn't answer. Minutes passed. The rain didn't stop. The woman outside slid down the wall until she was sitting on the ground. Knees pulled close, chin resting on them. A delivery driver walked past her, didn't look. A couple stepped over her legs, apologized, didn't wait for a response. Inside, the young girl with the hot chocolate stared at the window. "Mom," she whispered, tugging her sleeve. "Why is that lady crying?" Her mother followed her gaze, tensed. "She's fine," she said quickly. "Finish your drink." The girl didn't move. The manager checked his watch again. Something about the woman's question echoed in his head. "Do you still make the cinnamon blend the way you used to?" No one ordered that anymore. Hadn't in years. He shook his head, annoyed at himself. "She's gone," he said, more to the room than anyone. "Let's move on." But the door didn't open, and she didn't leave. Outside, the woman pressed her palm to the glass, not to beg, just to feel the warmth. And as the rain blurred the window, one question lingered inside the cafe. How did a woman with nothing remember a recipe no one else did? The glass was cold against her palm. Still, she kept it there. Inside, the cafe moved around her like she wasn't real, like she was part of the rain, part of the street, something temporary. The manager turned away from the door. He focused on the register, on numbers, on routine. "Next," he said. A man stepped forward, ordered a latte, paid, smiled. Life continued, but the barista couldn't stop looking at the window. The woman's hand was still there, fingers spread, nails chipped, skin pale. "She's still out there," the barista said. The manager sighed. "It's not our problem." The barista didn't argue. She just grabbed a clean cup, then another, then stopped. Her jaw tightened. She poured hot water into a cup, added a packet of sugar, then hesitated. She reached for the cinnamon. The manager noticed. "What are you doing?" "She's cold," the barista said. "I'm just giving her something warm." "That's not allowed." "It's just water." He paused. "Make it quick," he said. The barista didn't smile. She carried the cup around the counter toward the door. When she opened it, the rain rushed in again. Loud, angry, the woman looked up, startled. "It's warm," the barista said softly, holding out the cup. "I'm sorry about before." The woman hesitated, then took it. Their fingers brushed. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was barely there. The barista noticed her eyes, red, glassy, focused somewhere far away. "You okay?" the barista asked. The woman nodded, too fast. "I just needed to stand somewhere dry," she said. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." "You didn't," the barista said. "People just—" She stopped. The woman gave a small smile. "I know." She took a sip. Her shoulders relaxed just a little. Inside, a few customers watched through the window, curious now, less annoyed, more unsure. The office man frowned. "Why does she look familiar?" he said quietly. His companion leaned closer to the glass. Squinted. "She doesn't." He didn't respond. The barista lingered in the doorway. Rain soaked her shoes. "You can stand here a bit longer," she said. "I won't tell." The woman shook her head. "It's okay. I don't want you getting in trouble." She took another sip, slow, careful. "You used to make the cinnamon stronger," she said. The barista blinked. What? The blend, the woman said. It used to have more warmth. Less sugar. The barista laughed softly, nervous. I've only worked here 2 years. The woman nodded. That makes sense. Why? The woman looked past her, at the counter, at the shelves, at the menu board. Because it was different back then, she said. The barista tilted her head. Different how? The woman didn't answer. She finished the drink, handed back the cup. Thank you for seeing me, she said. Any time, the barista replied, though she wasn't sure if that was true. The woman stepped back into the rain, but this time she didn't sit. She stood tall, and inside the manager watched her go, with a feeling he couldn't place. Because somewhere beneath the soaked coat and tired eyes, a memory was pressing to the surface, and it was about to be noticed. The rain thinned into a mist. The woman walked a few steps away from the cafe, then stopped. She turned back once, not to look inside, just to look at the sign above the door. The name hadn't changed. That surprised her. Inside, the manager pretended to organize receipts. He stacked them, unstacked them, lined them up again. The barista returned behind the counter. Her hands were still damp. You shouldn't have done that, he said, not angry, just tired. She needed it, she replied. He didn't argue, he rarely did. The door opened again. This time a man in a delivery jacket stepped in. He shook water from his hair. Busy day? He asked. Same as always, the manager said, but it wasn't. The office man by the window was still watching outside. The woman stood across the street now under a broken streetlight. She wasn't asking for money. She wasn't talking to anyone. She was just standing there. Why doesn't she leave? His companion asked. Maybe she's waiting, he said. For what? He didn't answer. The manager glanced up at the menu board. His eyes lingered on the small corner where the cinnamon blend used to be listed. It wasn't there anymore. Hadn't been for years. He remembered removing it. No one noticed. No one complained except one person. A memory stirred, faint, unwelcome. A woman behind the counter, hair tied back, hands moving fast, confident, laughing softly as she worked. He shook his head. That was a long time ago, he muttered. What? The barista asked. Nothing. Outside, the woman crossed the street, slowly, careful with her step. Her shoes were worn thin. Water seeped in with every move. She reached the cafe window, didn't touch it this time. She looked inside, the warmth. The light, the people. Her eyes landed on the counter, her breath caught. For a moment she saw herself there. Younger, standing tall, calling out orders, remembering names. 2 coffees, extra cinnamon, she whispered. No one heard her. Inside, the young girl with the hot chocolate pressed her face to the glass. She's smiling, the girl said. Her mother pulled her back gently. Don't stare. But she looks sad and happy, the girl insisted. The woman outside lifted her hand in a small wave, just for the child. The girl smiled back before being turned away. The manager saw that. Something tightened in his chest. He stepped closer to the window, just a step. The woman met his eyes. They held each other's gaze. Recognition flickered, brief, confusing. She nodded once, respectful like an old habit. Then she turned and walked away. This time she didn't stop. The manager stood frozen. Do you know her? The barista asked quietly. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I don't think so, he said, but his hands were shaking now, because the truth was closer than he wanted to admit, and soon it would refuse to stay buried. The bell didn't ring again. Minutes passed, then more. The woman was gone from the street. The broken streetlight flickered over empty pavement. Inside, the cafe felt quieter, not peaceful, just hollow. The manager rubbed his palms together. He hadn't realized they were cold. Can you cover the register? He asked the barista. She looked up, surprised. Now, I need some air. He didn't wait for an answer. He stepped outside. The rain had almost stopped. The air smelled clean. Sharp, the kind that made old memories surface without warning. He looked down the street. Nothing. He told himself that was good, that this was over, that the day could return to normal, but his feet moved anyway. He walked past the café, past the bus stop, past the bakery that had closed years ago. Then he saw her. She was sitting on a bench near the pharmacy, shoulders hunched, coat wrapped tight, the paper cup resting beside her empty again. He slowed, didn't speak. She sensed him before she saw him. She always had. "You don't have to worry," she said, still looking ahead. "I won't come back." Her voice wasn't angry, just tired. "I didn't come to argue," he said. She nodded. "That's good." He stood there, hands in pockets, unsure. "You said it smelled different," he said finally. "What did you mean?" She smiled faintly. "Hope," she said. "It used to smell like hope." He swallowed. "That place gave people jobs," she continued. "Gave them a place to belong even when they didn't have much." "You worked there?" he asked. She looked at him then, really looked. "For a long time," she said. He studied her face, the lines, the eyes. A memory shifted, sharpened. "You trained me," he said suddenly. The words surprised him, her smile faded. "I used to," she said. "Yes." Silence fell between them. "I thought you moved," he said. "Or I don't know." "So did everyone else," she replied. He nodded slowly. "Why didn't you say anything?" She looked down at her hands, picked at a loose thread on her sleeve. "Because people don't listen to stories like mine," she said. "Not anymore." A bus passed. Wind stirred her hair. "You banned me," she added quietly, "from my own place." The words stung. "I didn't know it was you," he said. She met his eyes. "You didn't want to know." That hurt more. "I'm sick," she said suddenly, like it slipped out by mistake. "Not the kind that gets better." He froze. "I don't want sympathy," she said quickly. "I just wanted one warm place today." He opened his mouth. No words came. She stood up, slowly, with effort. "I should go," she said. He watched her take one step, then another. "Wait," he said. She stopped. But she didn't turn around. Because what she was about to leave behind was more than a memory, and soon the whole cafe would have to face it. She stood still. The street was quiet now. The rain had stopped completely. Only the hum of traffic in the distance remained. "Wait," he said again, softer this time. She turned slowly. "Yes." He searched her face. The woman who once corrected his grind sighs, who told him to slow down, to breathe, to care. "You shouldn't be out here," he said. "Not like this." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "This is how it is now." "No," he said. "It doesn't have to be." She shook her head. "You don't understand." "Then help me," he said. She hesitated. "I don't want to be a problem," she said. "You were never a problem," he replied too quickly. She studied him, like she was weighing something heavy. "You remember the back room?" she asked. He nodded. "Where we stored the extra cups." "And the old table?" she asked. "The one with the loose leg?" "Yes." "I fixed that," she said. "Used my own money." He swallowed. "You remember the opening day?" she continued. "When no one came for hours?" He nodded again. "I stood outside," she said, "handed out samples. Smiled until my face hurt." "I remember," he whispered. She took a breath. It shook. "I gave that place everything," she said. "And when I couldn't work anymore, it just kept going." "I didn't know," he said. "That's the thing," she replied. "No one does." A silence settled between them, heavy, honest. "Come back," he said suddenly. "Just for tonight, sit inside, be warm." She looked past him, toward the cafe, the light spilling onto the wet pavement. "They don't want me there," she said. "I do," he said. She looked at him again. Long, searching. "People will stare," she said. "I'll handle it. They'll ask questions. I'll answer." She let out a breath she'd been holding. "Just for a little while," she said. "Then I'll go," he nodded. "That's fine." They walked back together, slowly, side by side, not touching, but close. Inside, the bell rang. Every head turned. The barista froze mid-pour. The office man straightened. The room went still. The woman paused just inside the door, same spot as before, but this time she didn't look down. "This is fine," she whispered. The manager stepped forward. "She's with me," he said. Murmurs spread. "Soft, curious. She can sit," he added. A chair scraped. The woman sat near the wall, hands folded, eyes lowered. The barista brought her a cup, cinnamon on top, strong. The woman closed her eyes when she smelled it. "Thank you," she said. No one spoke, but everyone watched. Because the moment she sat down, the cafe unknowingly reopened a chapter it had tried to forget, and it would not stay quiet for long. The woman held the cup with both hands. Steam rose slowly. It warmed her face. She didn't drink right away, she just breathed it in, like she was afraid it might disappear. The cafe felt different now. Smaller, closer. Whispers moved through the room. "Why is she here? Is she sick? Do you know her?" The manager stood near the counter. He didn't look at the woman, he looked at the people. "She's staying," he said, calm, final. A few customers shifted. One man frowned. Another shrugged. The office man leaned toward his companion. "She used to work here," he whispered. "How do you know?" "I don't," he said, "but look at her." The barista wiped her hands on her apron. She walked over slowly. "Is it okay?" she asked the woman. "The drink," the woman nodded. "It's perfect." Her voice trembled just a little. She took a sip, closed her eyes again. For a moment she wasn't here. She was behind the counter, morning rush, orders flying, cups lining up. She was young, tired, proud. She opened her eyes. The barista was still standing there. "You remember everything," the barista said quietly. "About the place." The woman smiled. "Some things stay." The manager cleared his throat. "We're closing early tonight," he announced. A few heads turned. "Why?" someone asked. "Maintenance," he said. No one argued. People gathered their things, coats, bags, phones. Some glanced at the woman as they passed. Some didn't. The young girl stopped near her table. She looked up, curious, gentle. "Your drink smells nice," the girl said. The woman smiled at her. "It does." "What's in it?" "Cinnamon," the woman said. "A little extra." The girl nodded seriously. "That's my favorite." The woman's smile lingered long after the girl was led away. The cafe emptied. The lights dimmed slightly. The manager locked the door. The barista pulled 2 chairs closer to the woman's table. "You don't have to rush," she said. The woman looked around, at the empty tables, the quiet. "I won't stay long," she said. "You can," the barista replied. The woman shook her head. "I've learned not to take too much." The manager sat across from her. "I owe you an apology," he said. She looked at him, patient, waiting. "For today," he continued. "And for before, for not asking questions." She nodded. "Apologies don't change the past." "No," he agreed, "but they can sit with it." She considered that. "You did good with the place," she said. "You kept it alive." He swallowed. "You built it." Silence stretched. The barista looked between them. "Who are you?" she asked gently. The woman looked down at her cup, then up. "My name is Margaret," she said, "but most people used to call me Maggie." The manager's breath caught, because that name hadn't been spoken there in years. And with that single name, the walls of the cafe began to remember everything they had tried to forget. The name hung in the air. Maggie. The barista's eyes widened slightly. She looked at the manager. He didn't move. He stared at the woman like a door had opened in his chest. "Maggie," he repeated, quiet, unsteady. She nodded. "That's what they called me." The barista swallowed. "The Maggie," the woman gave a small shrug. "I suppose." "The first manager," the barista said, "the one in the old photos." Maggie looked away. "Photos are kinder than memory." The manager leaned back in his chair, slowly, like his legs might give out. "I thought you left," he said. "I heard you went back to your family." She smiled faintly. "I heard that too." "What really happened?" the barista asked. Maggie wrapped her hands tighter around the cup. The steam was gone now. "I got sick," she said. "Not all at once. Just enough to slow me down." Silence. "I tried to keep working," she continued. "Shorter shifts, less lifting." The manager closed his eyes. "But cafes don't wait," Maggie said. And neither do bills. The barista nodded slowly. I sold my apartment, Maggie said. Then my car. Her voice stayed calm, careful. Then I sold my time, she added, piece by piece. The manager rubbed his face. Why didn't you come back? He asked. We could have helped. Maggie looked at him. Her eyes were gentle, not accusing. You were just starting out, she said. You had a family then. I still would have helped, he said. She smiled. I know. That's why I didn't ask. The barista blinked back tears. You trained everyone, she said. They still talk about you. Maggie shook her head. They talk about an idea of me. The lights buzzed softly overhead. I didn't want to be remembered like this, Maggie said. Standing outside, being asked to leave. The words settled heavy. I'm sorry, the manager said again. This time it broke. Maggie reached across the table. Her hand rested lightly on his. Life is longer than pride, she said, and shorter than regret. A knock came at the door. They all froze. The office man stood outside. He looked nervous, apologetic. I'm sorry, he said through the glass. I forgot my umbrella. And I heard some things. The manager unlocked the door. The man stepped in, looked at Maggie. You trained me, he said suddenly. 16 years ago, my first job. Maggie smiled, real this time. You always steamed the milk too hot, she said. He laughed softly, then stopped. I'm glad you're here, he said. So was the café. Because the more people recognized her, the closer the truth crept toward a moment that could no longer be hidden. The door closed again. The café was quiet but not empty anymore. It felt full of something unseen. Memory, weight, time. The office man stood awkwardly near the counter. He didn't sit. I won't stay, he said. I just wanted to say thank you, Maggie nodded. You did good work, she said. You always showed up early. He smiled. Then his eyes filled. He looked away quickly. I didn't recognize you, he admitted. I'm sorry. Maggie lowered her gaze. Most people don't. The manager cleared his throat. Would you like some food? He asked. On the house. Maggie hesitated. Her fingers curled slightly on the table. Just something small, she said. I don't eat much these days. The barista nodded and went to the back. When she returned, she placed a simple plate in front of Maggie. Toast, butter, a little jam. Maggie stared at it for a moment, then carefully broke off a piece. She chewed slowly. No one spoke. The manager watched her. Every small movement felt loud. The way she held the fork. The way her shoulders tensed when she swallowed. How long have you been out there? He asked quietly. Long enough, Maggie replied. Do you have somewhere to sleep tonight? The barista asked. Maggie didn't answer right away. Sometimes, she said finally. The barista's hands tightened around her apron. You can't go back out, she said. Not tonight. Maggie shook her head. I don't want to be a burden. The manager leaned forward. You were never a burden here, she looked at him. That's not how the world sees it. Another knock came at the door, then another. The manager frowned and unlocked it. Two people stood outside. A woman in a long coat, a man with a familiar face. We heard Maggie was here, the woman said softly. Maggie froze, her breath caught. The man stepped forward. His voice shook. It's really you. Maggie stood slowly. Her chair scraped the floor. Hello, she said. The woman covered her mouth. We thought you died. Maggie smiled sadly. Some days I thought so too. The cafe felt too small now, too many eyes, too many memories. Word was spreading, and Maggie knew. She couldn't stay hidden much longer, because the quiet kindness that brought her back inside was about to turn into something public and irreversible. The woman in the long coat stepped closer. Her hands trembled as she reached for Maggie, then stopped halfway, like she wasn't sure she was allowed. You disappeared, she said. One day you just weren't there. Maggie nodded. I didn't know how to say goodbye. The man beside her swallowed hard. You taught my wife how to make her first cappuccino, he said. She still talks about it. Maggie smiled faintly. She had good instincts. The barista watched all of this from behind the counter. Her eyes moved from face to face, from Maggie to the others. The story was growing now, taking shape. The manager felt it too. This wasn't just a moment anymore, it was a reckoning. "Please," he said gently, "let's all sit." They did. Chairs were pulled closer. The cafe looked like it used to on late nights. Quiet conversations, soft lights, shared space. Maggie sat in the center, uncomfortable with the attention. "I don't want this to turn into something," she said. "I only came in to get warm." The woman in the coat nodded. "We know." "But you deserve more than that," the man said. Maggie looked down. Her fingers twisted together. "I don't need a spotlight," she said. "I just needed today." Silence answered her. The manager stood up. "There's something everyone should know," he said. Maggie looked up sharply. "No," he hesitated. "They already know pieces." "That's not the same," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it stopped him. "I don't want pity," Maggie said. "I don't want applause. I don't want people staring at me on the street tomorrow." The barista stepped forward. "What do you want?" she asked. Maggie thought for a long time. "I want to sit where I used to sit," she said, "just once, without being asked to leave." The words hit harder than anything else had. The manager nodded. "Then you will," he said. He walked to the front door, turned the sign from closed to open. Maggie's eyes widened. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Correcting something," he replied. He unlocked the door. People outside looked up, confused. The office man stepped back in first, then another customer, then someone else. The cafe slowly filled, but this time no one whispered. The manager spoke clearly. "This woman," he said, "built this place." All eyes turned to Maggie. She stood up. Panicked, "Please," she said, "I didn't ask for this." "I know," he said, "that's why it matters." Maggie looked around the room. Faces were soft now, open, ashamed, grateful. Tears filled her eyes. She sat back down. And for the first time in years, no one told her she didn't belong. But the truth wasn't finished revealing itself, and what Maggie was hiding would soon change everything they thought they knew. The room stayed still, not silent, just careful. Maggie sat with her hands in her lap. Her shoulders were tense, like she was bracing for something else to fall. People took seats, slowly, respectfully. No one rushed. No one stared for long. The barista moved behind the counter again. She worked without speaking, muscle memory guiding her hands, cups, milk, steam. She made the cinnamon blend the old way. She brought it to Maggie herself. Maggie looked up, surprised. "I remembered what you said," the barista whispered. "Less sugar," Maggie smiled. A real one, it lingered. "Thank you," she said. The manager stood near the door watching the room. He had never seen it like this, softer, honest. A man near the back cleared his throat. "My mother used to work here," he said. "She said this place saved her." Maggie nodded gently. "She saved it too." Another voice followed. "You helped me when my dad died," someone said. "You let me stay late. You didn't ask questions." Maggie closed her eyes. She hadn't known these things stayed. She hadn't known they waited. "I didn't think anyone remembered," she said quietly. "We did," the woman in the long coat replied. "We just didn't know where to look." Maggie's breath grew shallow. The manager noticed. "Are you okay?" he asked. Maggie pressed a hand to her chest. "I get tired," she said. "Faster now." The barista moved closer. "Should I call someone?" Maggie shook her head. "No hospitals tonight." The word tonight sat heavy. The manager knelt beside her chair. His voice was low. "How long?" he asked. Maggie met his eyes. "Not long," she said. The cafe felt the shift. People sensed it without being told. A clock ticked loudly on the wall. "I didn't come back for help," Maggie said to the room. "I came back because I wanted to remember who I was before I forgot." Her voice trembled. She steadied it. "I wanted to sit here," she continued, "and feel normal just once." The manager stood. "Then tonight," he said, "this is your place." He reached behind the counter, pulled out a framed photo. The opening day. Maggie stood in the center. Smiling, confident, alive, he placed it on the table in front of her. "You never left," he said. "We just stopped looking." Maggie touched the glass. Her hands were shaking again. And as the cafe gathered around her past, Maggie's future began to press forward, quietly, urgently, and with no more time to hide. Maggie's fingers rested on the frame. She traced the edge slowly, like she was afraid it might disappear if she pressed too hard. "That was a good day," she said. "I remember being so tired and so proud." The manager watched her hands, the way they trembled more now. "Do you need to lie down?" he asked. Maggie shook her head. "I want to stay upright as long as I can." The barista pulled another chair closer. She sat beside Maggie, not touching, just there. People spoke more quietly now. Like a hospital room, like a promise. A man near the window stood up. He held his coat tight around himself. "I'm a nurse," he said. "Off duty. I won't do anything you don't want." Maggie looked at him, studied his face. "Thank you," she said, "but I know my body." The nurse nodded, respectful. Silence returned. The cafe clock ticked again. Loud, honest. "I used to open this place every morning," Maggie said. "Before sunrise," she smiled faintly. "I'd unlock the door and just stand there for a moment, before anyone came in." The barista leaned closer. "Why?" "To remember why I was doing it," Maggie replied. "Because once the rush started, there was no time to think." The manager swallowed. "You taught us to care," he said, "even when it slowed things down." Maggie looked at him. "Did it?" "Yes," he said, "but we forgot." She nodded. Like that answer made sense. A soft cough escaped her. She covered her mouth with a napkin. When she pulled it away, there was a faint red mark. The barista noticed. Her breath caught. Maggie folded the napkin carefully, tucked it into her coat pocket. "I'm okay," she said gently. "Please don't look like that." The barista wiped her eyes. "I just wish." "I know," Maggie said. She leaned back in her chair. Her breathing was shallow now. "I don't have family," Maggie said quietly. "Not anymore." The words settled slowly. "But I had this place," she added, "and for a while that was enough." The manager nodded. His eyes were wet. "You still have it," he said. Maggie smiled. "That's why I'm not afraid," she said. "I came home before it was too late." Outside, a small crowd had gathered. People pressed close to the windows. Word had spread. Inside, the warmth held. The barista reached for Maggie's hand. Maggie let her. Her grip was weak, but certain. "Stay with me," Maggie whispered. "I'm here," the barista replied. Everyone was, because what Maggie had come to make peace with was no longer just her story, and the moment she feared most was drawing near. The cafe lights flickered once, then steadied. Maggie's breathing slowed, not calmer, just heavier, like each breath had weight now. The nurse stepped closer. He knelt beside her chair, didn't touch her. "Maggie," he said softly. "If it becomes too much," she shook her head. "Not yet." Her eyes moved around the room, face to face, memory to memory. "I didn't want anyone to see me like this," she said. "That's why I stayed away." The manager leaned forward. "Why today, then?" Maggie was quiet for a long moment. "Because I got the letter this morning," she said. The room stilled. "What letter?" the barista asked. Maggie reached into her coat. Her fingers fumbled. The barista helped gently. She pulled out an envelope, thin, creased, opened many times. "Final notice," Maggie said. "The shelter bed I've been using, it's gone tomorrow." No one spoke. "I walked all day," Maggie continued. "Didn't know where to go. Then I ended up here." Her voice wavered. "I thought maybe," she said, "if I could sit inside once more it would be enough." The manager's jaw tightened. "You should never have had to beg to come back," he said. Maggie shook her head. "I didn't beg," he nodded. "You're right, you didn't." A woman near the counter stood up. "We can help," she said, "all of us." Maggie looked at her, firm now. "No," she said, "not like that." The word carried weight. "I don't want charity," Maggie said. "I want dignity." The room understood. The manager turned to the crowd outside the window. He unlocked the door again. People stepped in quietly, slowly, wordless. "This is Maggie," he said, his voice carried. "She built this place, she trained us, she gave people work when they had none." Maggie closed her eyes, and we let her stand in the rain. A murmur moved through the room, not shock, shame. Maggie opened her eyes. "I didn't come here to be remembered," she said, louder now. "I came here to forgive." That stopped them. "I forgive this place," Maggie said, "for forgetting me." Tears slid down her cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. "But I need to say this," she continued. "I'm not going to make it much longer." A gasp, a hand over a mouth. "I didn't want to die unseen," Maggie said. "Or angry." She looked at the manager. "I wanted to come home first." The manager broke. He knelt in front of her, head bowed. "I'm here," he said. "I won't let you be alone." Maggie reached out, touched his shoulder. "I know," she whispered. And in that crowded cafe, as the truth finally stood fully exposed, Maggie's last gift was about to change everyone who heard it. The cafe felt smaller now, not because of the people, because of the truth sitting in the center of the room. Maggie's shoulders relaxed, like she had finally put something down. "I'm tired," she said softly. The barista tightened her grip on Maggie's hand. "You can rest." Maggie nodded, "just for a minute." The nurse checked her pulse. Gentle, careful. "She's weak," he said quietly, "but she's still here." Maggie smiled at that. "I've always been stubborn." A few people let out soft breaths, not laughter, relief. The manager stood and cleared his throat. His voice shook, but he didn't stop. "There's something I never told anyone," he said. Maggie looked at him. "When you got sick," he continued, "the owners wanted to replace you immediately. Said the cafe needed fresh energy." Maggie closed her eyes. "I argued," he said, "but I didn't fight hard enough." The words hurt coming out. "I told myself you'd land somewhere better," he said, "that you were strong." Maggie opened her eyes. "I was," she said, "until I wasn't." Silence wrapped around them. The barista wiped her cheeks. "You taught me to slow down," she said, "to look at people's faces when I serve them." Maggie smiled faintly. "Then you're doing it right." The woman in the long coat stepped forward. She placed something on the table. A small envelope, thick. "This is from all of us," she said. "Not money, not charity." Maggie looked uncertain. "It's a lease," the woman continued. "For the apartment above the bookstore. 1 year, already paid." Maggie's breath caught. "I can't," she began. "Yes," the woman said gently, "you can." Maggie looked around the room, not pity, respect. Tears slid freely now. "I don't have much time," Maggie said, "but I would like a door that locks." The manager nodded. "You'll have it." The nurse leaned closer. "You don't have to go tonight." Maggie exhaled, long, shaky. "Then I'll stay," she said. A small cheer rose, quiet, careful, loving. Maggie leaned back in her chair, her eyes fluttered closed. The barista brushed a strand of hair from Maggie's face. "You did good," she whispered. Maggie smiled. "So did you," she replied. But even as the room breathed again, time had its own plans, and Maggie's story was not finished yet. Morning came quietly, not with sunlight bursting through the windows, but with a soft gray glow, gentle, patient. The cafe hadn't closed that night. No one suggested it. Maggie slept in the chair near the wall. A blanket draped over her shoulders, her breathing shallow but steady. The barista sat on the floor beside her, back against the wall, knees pulled in. She hadn't slept. Not really. The manager stood behind the counter making coffee no one had ordered. The smell filled the room, familiar, comforting. A few people remained, sitting quietly, whispering when they had to speak. No one checked their phone much. No one hurried. The nurse watched the clock, not because he wanted time to pass, because he respected it. Maggie stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, confused at first, then calm. "Oh," she whispered, "I'm still here." The barista smiled through tears. "You are." Maggie looked around the cafe, really looked this time. The chairs, the counter, the menu board, the people. "It's quieter in the morning," Maggie said. "I always liked that." The manager stepped closer. "Do you want anything?" he asked. "Food, music," Maggie shook her head. "Just company," he nodded. They pulled chairs closer, made a small circle around her. Maggie took a slow breath. "I need to say something," she said. Everyone leaned in. "I spent a long time believing my life got smaller," Maggie said. "That everything I built disappeared when I did." She paused, swallowed. "But last night," she continued, "I realized something." She looked at the barista. "At you," she said, "and at all of you. Things don't vanish just because we stop seeing them," Maggie said. "They wait." Her voice weakened, but her eyes stayed clear. "I didn't fail," she whispered. "I just ran out of time." The barista squeezed her hand. "You mattered," she said. "You still do," Maggie smiled. "I know," she said. Outside, the street began to wake. Cars passed, a delivery truck slowed, the cafe door opened. A man stepped in, older, nervous. "I heard Maggie was here," he said. Maggie turned her head. "Oh," she breathed, "you came." He stepped forward, tears in his eyes. "I never forgot you," he said. Maggie closed her eyes again. "That's enough," she whispered. Her breathing slowed, everyone held still. The nurse checked her pulse, then nodded once. "She's resting," he said, but no one missed the truth. The cafe stayed silent, not broken, just full. And as the city moved forward outside those walls, the cafe prepared to say goodbye to the woman who had quietly given it a soul. The cafe didn't rush the moment. No one cried out. No one stood up suddenly. Maggie's chest rose once more, then didn't. The barista noticed first. She didn't say anything. She just leaned forward and rested her forehead gently against Maggie's arm. The manager understood without being told. He closed his eyes. Outside, a car horn sounded. Somewhere, someone laughed. Morning continued. Inside, the nurse checked again. Careful, respectful. "She's gone," he said softly. No one moved. Then the woman in the long coat covered Maggie's hands with the blanket, straightened the frame on the table, the photo from opening day. Maggie, smiling, alive. "She looks happy there," someone whispered. "She was," the manager said. "She always was, even when she was tired." They opened the door together when the ambulance came, quietly, like they were letting out a secret. People on the street stopped. Not because of sirens, because of stillness. The cafe door closed again. The barista wiped the table where Maggie had sat, slowly, like she was memorizing the shape of it. The manager turned the sign. Closed 4 now days passed. Then weeks. The cafe reopened, but something was different. A small plaque sat near the counter now. "This cafe was built by Maggie. May everyone who enters feel welcome." No one ever questioned it. The cinnamon blend returned to the menu, made the old way. Less sugar, more warmth. Sometimes customers asked about the name. The barista would smile and say, "She taught us how to see people." And that was enough. On rainy days, no one was asked to leave. A woman once stood near the door, soaked and shaking. The manager handed her a cup before she asked. "Sit," he said. "Take your time." Because the cafe had learned something Maggie never needed to explain. That places remember, that kindness lingers, and that no one should have to prove they belong. The bell above the door rang, soft, sharp, familiar, and the cafe at last felt whole.